sub-educational sector, in which there's a rating of some 36% for secondary technical and vocational education on the fulfillment of the promises thereof. Now, we know that one of the big successes of government's post-basic education policy is free SHS. Well, beside vocational and technical education, it becomes very integral in awarding or giving high marks to government. But there's a mark of just 36.67% to government in that category for secondary technical education. Quite baffling, I think.
Well, it is baffling. But then again, you have to understand the scope of the work to be able to appreciate why that's the case. So the government may have done free senior high school. Matter of fact, there are those who today argue that the implementation of free senior high school policy alone has almost shoestring and hanged this government on its leg. But that's not my doing. That's not your doing. That's the government making commitments that a commitment whose implementation begins to create complex problems for the government. I don't think that we look at the size of the promise or the effort it will take to implement a particular promise. No. If the government promised to do 50 things for education, and I think that's what people need to understand, 50 things in education, and free senior high school is one. And the entire 4 years, the government was only able to implement free senior high school because getting it done almost triple the government. Well, then it's only 1 out of 50. People didn't vote for you, only one promise. You told the people you were going to do 50 things, and that is why they voted only for you. So you knew what it would take to get free senior high school done, and you added 50 items. I think that's where we should be able to interpret the results of the work and push the competition for it. So you expect 9% on that human capital investment in education. But what it means is that out of all the things they said they were going to do, they've only been able to check off 39% of that. What it means that there's still a lot to be done, regardless of the impact or the effort it takes to do the 39%. There is still nearly 60% of the items that have not been touched. And it's important the government takes off this and so on. So again, it's not an exercise of saying, for example, that to be able to put together a particular promise and implement it, you found in the end that this is the entire basket of resources that the government has. And so because of that, we have to weigh that more. No. When you went to the people of this country, the government did not go and say that it will take me this amount of money and this amount of effort to get senior high school done. So should the case I'm able to do that, then I have to be credited for that and forget everything else. That's not how and the rationale for which the business goes. And I think that when the government goes back to the populace, that is how the populace is going to assess the government. That you said you were going to do ABC items, you've only done A. Regardless of the impact of A, what happens to B, C, and D? That the government is now compelled to justify. Now, what that does, the number of things. First of all, it educates the citizens about what it takes to run a country, because I still think that the one-ton list that political parties put out somewhat almost obfuscates the efforts and commitments of government. That is one. Two, it immediately forces our politicians to equally think critically about the things they say during electioneering period, so that they get extremely realistic within resource constraints and within time constraints that they have the delivery of promise.
Does it mean this sort of communication you just enumerated, or perhaps broadened by way of the explanation about just fulfilling one out of a number, doesn't lend credence to you able to fulfill all? Perhaps create some credibility problems for government, because we all think that in the communication we always tend to give high marks to government in education, and apparently you're saying that, well, you've done free SHS, but according to the reports and the data what that we've analyzed and observed, for which we've come to this conclusion, is just one of the many related things that you should have done as you promised.
Well, again, so the observation you have made is right, which is critical to all of the explanation I gave earlier. But I think that the number of things that the government said, for example, is going to do in education, I think it transcends to senior high school. All right, because you have to think, that border on, the development of skill sets for teachers. You have things around the Arabic tuition, for example, the content development is already happened for. You have the establishment of some resource centers for some technical resource centers, science, technology, engineering, mathematics resource centers across the 10 regions of the country, which are working on. You have a host of other projects along those lines. So the point is, all of these things are supposed to speak to a certain objective that we wanted for the education sector. It's not only to say we wanted to do free senior high school so every child in this country can get access to education, but we equally went into conversations as a country, for example, around the technical level of education. We want computing and programming that has to go there. We are developing content and getting our children to learn a lot more. And when it comes to languages, for example, so French and Arabic, for instance, has to be mainstream. We have inclusivity, which is extremely important because there are people with disabilities, persons with disabilities at the school thing. That the infrastructure design of our senior high schools almost makes it impossible for them to get a full benefit of having to stay in school. And all of these were things that the government said, for example, that it was going to address in the first place. So if you do free senior high school, put up a school somehow, and the person with disability does not have disability-friendly infrastructure, and that's going to go to. You haven't done that. And it's important that that is reported as it. So again, I come back to the point that merely investing of resources in getting one manifesto done, that is for the citizens to interpret to say, okay, now we understand what the issues are. We want to give you a good credit for it, or we don't want. But at the end of the day, they have to know that out of all the things you said you were going to do, I've just been able to do 39% in the area of secondary education. So what happens to the rest? I think that sort of interpretation and whether or not, it shows that it shows a level of credibility or otherwise for that government in subsequent years. I think that what we are trying to do with this support is just put the evidence out there. If the citizens are of the view that, well, it takes a lot of effort to do the 39%, and so you are credible, fair enough. If citizens come to the conclusion that, well, that credibility has got to be assessed within a certain time frame, so don't tell us things that you know cannot be done within a 4-year term, and somehow expect that you will do just a little bit of it and we'll give you credit for it. So again, there are nuances here and there, but I think that at the end of the day, those sort of judgments and those sorts of conclusions are things that citizens will have to do for themselves.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, I've enjoyed the explanation so far. Now the numbers make sense. Just hold on. Roxy Nelson, the Pamapo, is a legal practitioner, but also a member of parliament. He's my guest here, so he would want to make some explanations or get some clarity.
Yes. Now, Patrick, I've listened to you carefully regarding the explanation that you are not the entity trying to credit government, and that you got this information from government communication. And we insist, or I insist, that if you look at all the official communications that have been submitted to Parliament containing this particular information, we have challenged them. Indeed, we further challenged them in a press statement that they should indicate what exactly they did to end the doomsaw. Because we are ended doomsaw before we exited office. And as part of the projects that we initiated to end doomsaw, included the 110 megawatt steam component of the T2 power plant at Abuazi. Again, we did a 250 megawatts Ameri power plant, which they came to extend. We did a 225 megawatts car power batch plant. We did a 220 megawatts thermal plant. We did a 180 megawatts first stage of Suno Asogli. We did a 38 megawatt TTP plant. We did a 2 megawatt solar plant at Navrongo. And we did a 8 megawatts solar plant at Kalio in the Upper West region. We also did a 180 megawatt second stage of Suno Asogli. We did again the 240 megawatt thermal plant at Kpum by SemPower. Then we did a 20 megawatt solar plant at Mankwazi and did a 370 megawatts dual fuel thermal plant at Tema by AXA. So we have asked them. That is why they keep saying that we have left them so much excess supply to the extent that it's become a financial burden on the liabilities that government has inherited. So these challenges have been thrown back at them. They've not been able to respond to rebut our position. So if you say that you pick this information merely from government communication,
it's not good enough.
No. And you have refused to look at the rebuttals from the minority and demanding that there should be proof of how they actually ended it. And you are not factoring that into your analysis. Then it's a bother for us in the minority.
Seriously.
That's my point.
So, Honorable, a quick clarification.
Yeah.
So all the thermal plants, and again, here I'm going to probably get out of the context of the report we have published.
Okay. Okay.
So all the issues you have outlined are absolutely right.
Okay.
So just that significant investments were made between 2013 and 2015 for this country in terms of power generation. So we had purchased them, and all of a sudden we ended up with excess capacity for generation of power. However, all the thermal plants you are talking about require fuel to get them on, and that is why even in the context of all of these investments that were made, somehow we have difficulties with access to fuel. Here I'm talking HFO, LFO, and LFO, HFO, and gas, for example. So those are absolutely right. Today, as we speak, there's a lot of development that happened off of what the NDC government, for instance, did, like the relocation of car partnership, for example, like gas supply that is not coming upstream, that some of the power producers are going to be leveraging for the production of power and things like that. And there is a competition on the reduction in the price of gas. That has an ultimate impact on what tariff is going to look like for the ordinary consumer home and also for industrial consumers of power. All of these are conversations that you can facilitate, right? So you're absolutely right. One government claiming to resolve a problem in this country, I think, is a very wrong way of understanding the development pathway of this country, because in an extreme case, even the directive principles of state policy of this country suggest that one government has got to continue what another government does. And so we should be able to see governance as a continuum. So again, it is very problematic when one government decides to usurp the gain for the results that we achieve from the utilization of the resources of this country towards resolving problems for the citizens of this country. So that is going to be made. However, having said that, I think there is an opportunity in Parliament for the minority to demand, and you are right, we may have demanded as minority who are part of government, for the government to provide evidence to say it is only their effort. And those sorts of interpretations will lead for our competitive political environment to resolve.
Okay.
So, for example, again, somebody can say that, in terms of dealing with the human capital development of this country or creation of jobs, it is the responsibility of one government that created all the jobs. That is a very worrying statement for any political party, whether a minority or majority, to make.
I agree with you.
Because businesses exist in a continuum.
I agree.
And so the decisions of one political party may have businesses, they will readjust, but once they free up space. So it is important that we start looking at these things on a continuum. However, for who takes blame for what, I think that the competitiveness of our democracy and how we are building it over time is something that you, the members of parliament, have got to resolve, so that when you take the members of the majority on, you force them to defend that term. And I think that leaving citizens to get into that conversation, or civic actors, for example, to get into that conversation, will almost, in my opinion, distort what the intent is of local policy really has to be. So you're absolutely right. You will have taken them on. You will force them to provide those reasons. But at least I think that at your level, I'm sure that can be resolved. But at the end of the day, for the citizens who are I think what matters is that
the problem has been solved. I agree.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Steve.
Mr. Patrick Kwabena Stevenson, thank you for that. You're head of research, IMANI Africa, and helping us do the discussions. Yesterday, I saw your name somewhere. It has a PhD attached to it. Do you? Patrick?
Hello?
Yeah. Yesterday, I saw your name somewhere. You have a PhD attached to it.
No, my name doesn't have a PhD.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes we tend to misrepresent. So, your final words.
Yes. If for instance, you look at what the Electoral Commission seeks to do.
In relation to? ROPA or where?
ROPA, the
biometric registration,
yes,
a new compilation
of new register.
Yeah, echoing fears in the NDC.
No, it appears to be an agenda that dovetails into an MPP promise. You recall that it is in their manifesto that they will compile a new voters register.
Yeah.
Go and check.
Yeah.
Because they've been attacking the authenticity of this register right from opposition. But the question the minority is asking, or the NDC is asking, is that you as a result remove the commissioner and replace her with a new person.
What do you mean by removed by the commissioner? The commissioner went through.
Roland, don't let us go into that.
You're a legal practitioner. So,
I do.
So when you make such inferences, it's worrying.
Why? Roland, you knew that the initial petition was not signed. Do you know the people who petitioned the president till today? Do you know them?
Well,
why?
I know that Mr. Opoku-Agyeman, Maxwell Opoku-Agyeman.
Why?
The legal practitioner.
Yes.
Represented
exactly. People. You represent people with faces, known persons. Who gave him the instructions to do what?
You're a legal practitioner. Exactly. He couldn't have represented people without faces, without names.
So
are you saying that because the names and the faces were not made public, it makes it problematic?
Is it not important that we know the people
you practice law, so you tell me.
I am asking you.
If it's on that basis,
we know the people who petitioned that the Charlotte.
It depends on who is asking. To me, I don't think it's relevant.
So don't let us. If we want to go into the matters, it's an agenda that had been set and achieved. And I'm saying they brought their favorite, and the favorite appears to be doing things in tandem with the government's position. Now, how do you seek to replace a new voters register in an election year? If there are issues, when do we test it before we get to the main elections? The existing register was good enough for you to conduct a by-election, to conduct a referendum where you got 99.99% in places. It's the same register that you are going to use to conduct the general elections next week at the district level. So how is it that register is good till the end of December, but suddenly when we enter January next year, it's not good, we have to change it? How many times do you take the biometric details of a voter? You only do so once. How much is it going to cost us? Now, have you listened to her reasons? For instance, she says that the data center hasn't got air conditions. Should that be a basis to compile a new voters register? If machines are obsolete, don't you just buy a new machine to run the system? Should that be a basis for you to compile a new voters register? So she should spare us. It is not happening. This voters register thing is not happening.
Nelson Dapamapo is a legal practitioner, but also member of parliament for South Dine, helping me do some great discussions. I've enjoyed it. Also helping us was Patrick Kwabena Stevenson, research head or head of research, IMANI Africa. They came out with our report and crediting government for fulfilling 48% of its promises. So it's a fair performance, they say, usually within their domain and the benchmarks that they tend to benchmark performances based on past manifesto reports. But that's where we are. Thank you for joining me. We have to bring you the latest in entertainment. As always, AM Showbiz is brought to you by Awake Purified Water. Stay with us.